In this section, we're going to look at a more modern approach to deploying your microservices, the service per VM pattern. The idea here is that you package each service as a virtual machine image. So if that was EC2, it would be an AMI, for example. And then when you deploy your service, each instance is a running virtual machine, a running EC2 instance. And each service instance resides in its own virtual machine. There's a great example of that is Netflix. Their video streaming service consists of apparently 600 different services, of which there are many instances of each service, and it's all running on AWS. So there's a lot of EC2 instances enabling kids to watch cartoons on a Saturday morning. So each one of their services gets packaged up as an AMI. So they have an open source project, Animator. There's a more modern packaging tool called Packer.io, which automates the process of building virtual machine images for a variety of different virtualization technologies. There's also a company called BoxFuse that have an intriguing product. It lets you package your Java application as an ultra lightweight virtual machine that in some ways has the lightweight characteristics of containers. The actual VMs have a minimal amount of stuff in them, so they're more secure and they actually boot a lot faster. So there's a variety of different strategies that you can use for building your AMIs. So there's various benefits of packaging services up as virtual machines. Number one, you actually get great isolation. One of the important attributes of a virtual machine is that it's very isolated from other virtual machines. The hypervisor ensures that the virtual machines are kept separate as much as possible. Obviously, the underlying they do share resources of the underlying machine, and perhaps sort of I/O might get saturated by one virtual machine. It very, very much depends, but in general, you get good isolation. You also get good manageability. Virtual machine environments have great tooling for managing virtual machines. Another neat aspect of this is that the virtual machine encapsulates the implementation technology for the microservice. So once you package your service up as a virtual machine image, the API for starting and stopping your microservice is now the virtual machine interface. So whoever is actually deploying your service doesn't actually know what implementation technology it all uses, because everything looks like a virtual machine that can be stopped and started, which is extremely powerful. Once you can give someone a virtual machine, there's not much that can go wrong at that point. Another really nice feature of virtual machines is that it's a mature technology. So if you look at a virtualization or virtual machine technology like EC2, there are great features like auto-scaling, load balancing, and other kinds of services that provide this mature, robust infrastructure for running your microservices. One drawback, however, packaging services as virtual machines is that you get less efficient resource utilization. So every service, say if it was Java, has its own JVM, which has a certain amount of overhead, but then it also has its own virtual machine, which in some cases can be a considerable amount of overhead, which effectively translates into cost in a way. Another downside is that the process of building a virtual machine image is relatively slow, just because there's megabytes of data that needs to be moved around on the network. So that slows down the deployment process. But we're in general, we're just talking about minutes, a few minutes, rather than an excessive amount of time. And also, it does take a while in some cases for the virtual machine to actually boot up. Depends on the particular technology or the particular virtualization technology that you're using, and so on. But it's not instantaneous. So there are some trade-offs. I think it's actually excellent that you get very, very good isolation. It's just can be a little slow and somewhat inefficient when it or less inefficient when it comes to resource utilization. But this is certainly an approach that's worth considering.